Imagine walking up to a stranger's front door.
Yeah.
You ring the bell, you step back, and you just wait. You have, I mean, exactly 60 seconds from the moment they turn that knob to convince them to trust you. And you're asking them to trust you with what's probably their most valuable financial asset, which is their home.
Yeah, it's intense.
Right. If you flinch or if you stutter or if you come on way too strong with a sales pitch, this heavy metal shield just drops over their mind. They might nod politely or, smile, but mentally the door is already slammed shut. And nothing you say for the next hour is going to actually matter.
It really is one of the most high-stakes, psychologically complex moments in modern commerce. And the brutal reality is that most professionals just fundamentally misunderstand what is happening in those first 60 seconds.
Yeah.
They assume the person on the other side of the door is evaluating a product, but in reality, that person is evaluating a threat.
Wow. Evaluating a threat. That is, well, welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. Today we are taking you straight into the mechanics of that exact interaction and everything that comes after it. We're looking at this fascinating guide sourced from the roofing sales industry.
Right.
And it meticulously breaks down the operational anatomy of top high-income professionals, specifically the ones who are consistently hitting that $100,000 professional income target. And it contrasts them with average reps who are constantly grinding, but just barely scraping by.
And I think the roofing industry is an incredible laboratory for studying performance because the environment, it just strips away all those glamorous illusions of sales. You're navigating scorching heat, aggressive storm chasers, immense insurance confusion, and a customer base that is usually stressed out and highly skeptical.
Absolutely.
So it forces this really clear distinction between amateur hustle and professional systems.
Exactly. And our mission for you today is to extract the exact DNA of those professional systems. Because while this source material focuses on roofing, the underlying data reveals a universal truth here. The habits, the discipline, and the deep understanding of human psychology we are going to explore today, they apply to absolutely any high-stakes, trust-based profession.
Yes, any profession.
Right. Whether you're selling enterprise software or wealth management or a completely new roof system, the framework for building trust under pressure is identical.
It is. And the central premise we found in the source is that average performers treat every single day like this unpredictable emergency. They rely on their own adrenaline to just force deals across the finish line.
Yeah, just constantly putting out fires.
Exactly. High performers do the exact opposite. They rely on boring, repeatable, highly structured routines that completely remove panic from the equation.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's look at the foundational mindset shift the guide highlights. The average rep approaches that front door thinking they are selling a commodity. They think they're selling shingles, underlayment, and nails.
Right.
But a top performer operates on a completely different frequency. They know the homeowner isn't buying building materials. They are buying clarity, urgency, risk reduction, and professional guidance. It's almost like, think of that like a blind date.
Okay, I like that.
Right? You show up to a blind date and you come on too strong, or you look disheveled, the other person's defensive shields go up immediately. And literally nothing you say after that matters.
That's a perfect analogy. And what's fascinating here is the underlying psychological mechanism triggered the moment the door opens. The homeowner's brain isn't calculating the tensile strength of an asphalt shingle.
Right.
Their brain is rapidly trying to answer one primitive question. Am I safe with this person? Making a stranger feel safe instantly is the ultimate hallmark of a true professional.
It dictates the entire trajectory of the relationship, doesn't it? Like if your tone is frantic because you're worried about hitting a quota, you project desperation.
You do. And that quiet confidence required to lower those shields, it doesn't come from some magical charisma or practicing in the mirror. The source emphasizes that it comes from rigorous preparation behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Professionalism is the lagging indicator of knowing your pipeline inside out, tracking your numbers, and understanding the scope of your work so deeply that you don't have to fabricate confidence on the doorstep. You exude it naturally because you are fundamentally prepared.
Let's follow that thread then. So you nail the first 60 seconds. You look the part, your communication is clean, and you can almost see the homeowner physically relaxed, those shields lower.
Right.
The instinct for an amateur at this exact moment is to unleash the pitch. They want to talk about the company history, why their materials are superior, and just aggressively ask for the business.
Yeah.
But the data shows top performers slam on the brakes.
They absolutely refuse to pitch. Pitching an undiagnosed problem creates immediate resistance. A top performer shifts entirely into the role of a diagnostician. They recognize that prescribing a solution before fully understanding the symptoms is essentially professional malpractice.
Wait, aren't salespeople stereotypically supposed to be smooth talkers? I mean, why is the top performer acting more like a quiet forensic accountant or a building inspector, especially if you're standing on a 100-degree asphalt roof in the middle of summer? If you know exactly what the structural problem is within 30 seconds of climbing the ladder, isn't it agonizing to deliberately slow down?
Oh, I'm sure it is.
Because the human urge to just shout down the fix, close the deal, and get out of the blazing sun must be overwhelming.
It's totally overwhelming. But this raises an important question about the difference between your reality and the client's reality. Yes, you might know the roof is failing in 30 seconds, but the homeowner doesn't know that.
That's true.
If you rush down the ladder and demand $10,000 without bringing them along on the journey of discovery, you trigger their suspicion. That heavy documentation builds undeniable trust and actually protects the contractor. It shifts the dynamic from a sales pitch to an objective review of evidence.
So they're essentially building a case file.
Exactly.
The guide lists the specific forensic evidence they gather. And they aren't just looking at cracked shingles. They are asking about the history of interior leaks, the timing of recent storms, the status of any ongoing insurance claims.
Yeah, they document absolutely everything.
Right, meticulously photographing attic ventilation, looking for hidden water stains on the decking, tracking exterior damage down to the siding. And they ask probing questions about the homeowner's specific timeline, their budget, and the decision process.
Because every photograph and every question serves a structural purpose. When you gather heavy documentation, you fundamentally alter the geometry of the sales dynamic. You're no longer a salesperson standing across from a buyer trying to win a verbal debate.
You're on the same side.
Yes. You place yourself on the exact same side of the table as the homeowner. The two of you are now objectively reviewing physical evidence together.
Which completely neutralizes the adversarial nature of sales. However, the source material includes a massive warning label here. Gathering all this forensic evidence is only half the battle.
A very dangerous half if done wrong.
Right. If you take 40 terrifying photos of rotting wood and black mold in an attic and just dump that folder onto the kitchen table, you are going to induce sheer panic.
And panic is the absolute enemy of a solid decision. Panic leads a homeowner to either freeze completely or defensively reject the person bringing them the bad news. So the presentation of the evidence requires intense calibration. The objective is to clearly inform, never to pressure.
So top reps present the problem alongside a highly specific professional path forward. They completely avoid the sensationalized scare tactics. They don't say, your roof is going to collapse during the next rainstorm. They say, here is the exact point of water intrusion we found. Here is the photograph of how it's impacting the decking. And here is the precise ventilation system we use to permanently mitigate this risk.
It connects the fear directly to a tangible solution. And that disciplined presentation naturally insulates the rep against the most dangerous trap in any industry, which is the race to the bottom on price.
Oh yeah, low price selling is dangerous. Here's where it gets really interesting. Dropping your price to win a roofing bid is like picking the cheapest possible parachute.
Oh, wow. Right.
When it comes to protecting your home or your life, cheap is usually the most expensive mistake you can make. You are not doing the client a favor by being the cheapest option. You're actively compromising the integrity and safety of the entire project.
Top performers firmly believe that analogy. They do not sell a cheap price tag. They sell the clarity of the scope of work. They sell the reliability of the warranty, the strict safety protocols, superior material quality, and the assurance of a clean timeline. Ultimately, they are selling the homeowner a significant reduction in their own personal risk.
But even with an airtight presentation of value, the homeowner is still going to throw up objections. It's inevitable. The sources outline the classics like, I need to think about it, or your price is too high, or I'm waiting for insurance. Or the most frustrating one, can you do it cheaper because another contractor said they could do the exact same job for $3,000 less?
The psychology behind those objections is crucial. An amateur rep hears, I need to think about it, and their ego takes a hit, they get defensive, they start arguing or desperately trying to badmouth the cheaper competitor.
Yeah, which just ruins the trust they built.
Exactly. A true professional understands that an objection is rarely a literal statement of fact. It's almost always a smokescreen for an unaddressed, hidden fear.
So they treat the objection as a request for more information rather than a rejection.
Precisely. If a homeowner says another contractor is cheaper, the top rep doesn't panic. They lean in with genuine curiosity. They might ask, hey, I completely understand wanting the best value. When the other company presented their bid, did they include the full attic ventilation upgrade required by the new building code? Or was their quote, just for a surface level shingle overlay?
Wow.
Yeah, they use specific scoping questions to help the homeowner realize the cheaper bid is likely omitting critical safety components. It's a calm, non-defensive response that maintains the trust established in the first 60 seconds.
That is so smart. But, the sources reveal a somewhat shocking reality at this stage.
Yeah.
You can execute the perfect diagnostic inspection. You can handle the pricing objection flawlessly. The homeowner looks you in the eye and says, this all makes perfect sense. Let me sleep on it, and we will talk tomorrow. And then,
And they vanish.
yes, a mass percentage of these deals fall to a black hole right after the homeowner says, let me think about it. Why?
They vanish because of what happens, or rather what doesn't happen, the next day. It's a catastrophic failure in the follow-up mechanics. Many deals are lost simply because the rep forgets, delays, or sends weak texts.
Yeah, the amateur strategy is usually just sending a text message 3 days later, like, hey, just checking in to see if you had any questions.
Which is incredibly destructive. Just checking in, text adds zero value to the client's life. You are essentially demanding that the homeowner do the work of figuring out the next step.
Right, so the guide lays out a much more aggressive, yet highly professional follow-up rhythm. It starts with a same-day recap. Then there's a dedicated next-day check-in to review the proposal, handle objections, and schedule next steps. They never leave the next step vague.
And to execute a rhythm that precise, you have to possess absolute mastery over your pipeline. Every lead's exact status has to be known. Are they a new lead, contacted, inspected, estimate sent, proposal sent, signed, lost, or waiting? You can't rely on guesswork.
Well, let me push back on that a bit. Is a dedicated system really that much better than a highly motivated rep with a great memory and a notepad full of text messages? Like, we hear so much about the power of hustle.
I hear that a lot. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, relying on memory is a hallmark of hustle, whereas relying on a connected system is the hallmark of a scalable profession. Hustle is great when you're brand new, but memory fails under pressure. Systems don't.
Right, because when a massive storm hits, a rep might be juggling 50 complex leads.
Exactly. Notebooks get lost, text messages get buried. The notepad rep forgets to call the high-value client back because they are busy putting out a fire somewhere else. Modern teams connect all of this, leads, photos, estimates, commissions, invoices, into one system.
Because it removes the administrative anxiety. The system tells them exactly who needs to be called, preserving their cognitive bandwidth for actual human empathy on the phone.
Yes. And tracking everything rigorously isn't just about closing more deals, it's actually about making sure you are closing the right deals, which brings us to the financial reality of the business.
Section 5, protecting profit. It turns out generating revenue means absolutely nothing if you aren't protecting the company's profit. A top rep does not close bad jobs just to secure a personal commission.
Average reps will happily close a terrible job with razor-thin margins just to get a tiny check. They view a signed contract as a win, regardless of the underlying math.
But a top performer understands the technical elements. They understand margin, scope, materials, and labor. And they understand the necessity of filing supplements.
Which means going back to the insurance company with rigorous photographic proof to demand additional funds when the initial payout fails to cover hidden damage.
They also know how to execute change orders when a homeowner alters the agreed-upon materials. So what does this all mean? Look, closing unprofitable jobs just to get a quick commission is like eating junk food for a quick sugar rush.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
It might feel really good in the moment, but it ruins the long-term health of the business.
It does. And true professionals treat rejection as data and feedback, continuously refining their approach. They train constantly, they role-play, they review calls, they study failed deals.
But the guide also highlights the owner's responsibility here. An owner cannot just hand a new recruit a ladder and say, go knock on doors. They have to provide onboarding, scripts, inspection checklists, proposal templates, weekly pipeline reviews, and commission clarity.
Exactly. Take the inspection checklist, for example. A professional owner knows that a step-by-step physical checklist removes the cognitive load of remembering what to photograph. So the rep can dedicate 100% of their mental energy to observing the homeowner's emotional state.
The tool liberates the rep to be more human. So, synthesizing our entire deep dive today.
Mm.
The difference between an average performer and a top performer is not magic. It's not being the loudest person in the room.
No, the loudest person is usually overcompensating for a lack of a system.
Right. It is the daily repetition of discipline, process, trust building, documentation, and follow-up. Professionalism compounds over time. So as you head back into your own work, I want to challenge you to view your own workflows through this lens. No matter your industry, are you acting like a professional or are you just treating every day like a new emergency?
And to leave you with one final thought to mull over, think about the biggest bottleneck in your current professional life right now. Are you secretly relying on your own hustle and scattered memory to manage it? And if so, what would happen tomorrow if you replaced that hustle with a genuinely boring, predictable, but unbreakable system?